Hi, this is Eric Metcalf, and you're watching the Unhappy Hour.
Broadcasting to you live from the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, California, Los Angeles to be specific. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Unhappy Hour. And yeah, it's a little unhappy right now. The Cavaliers lost to the Golden State Warriors. It wasn't really close. It was a comedy of errors. If you watch the game, it was kind of one of those games where if it could go wrong, it would go wrong. Unforced errors, turnovers, throwing the ball out of bounds, not boxing out, losing second chance opportunities, missing a large percentage of your wide open shots, just porous defense, missed assignments, bad rotations. This game was a grab bag of futility for the Cleveland Cavaliers. There were a couple of moments where they were kind of clawing around, they were sticking around. 11 points goes to 8 points, 7, 6, 5 points. Ended up getting blown out. It was one of those games for the Cavaliers. Steph Curry was hitting ridiculous shots. And not many of the Cavs were doing all that much. Was it a letdown from game one? And by the way, just a couple of things about that. JR, I know everybody's piling on him, but why didn't a coach call timeout? And if you're also, while we're on that topic, if you're watching the extended replay when they kind of zoomed in on LeBron and watched him the whole game from the bench, when the game went into overtime, and he asked, well, we had no timeouts? For everybody that's bashing JR for losing track of the game, LeBron needs to know if you have timeouts right there. He's on the floor. He could do this in front of a referee once we get the rebound. So while we're blaming everybody but LeBron James, let's just remember, he had to ask, we had no timeouts? You're telling me you're not going to double check when you go to the free throw line? You're not going to double check prior to George Hill's second shot. How many timeouts do we have? Okay, good. We got a timeout. I'm gonna use one if we have to. So I think it's something worth mentioning. What's up, Brian? Everybody else in the chat room on Facebook. Okay, if you're on this camera, thank you for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. It's youtube.com/TheNewAmericanMedia. If you're on this camera, we're in a private sports group called The Unhappy Hour Sports Show. It's on Facebook. It's a great group. It's hilarious. It's a lot of instant commentary, instant analysis, funny stuff, commiserating. It's a support group. So thank you all for being a part of this. What's up, Dave? What's up, everybody? Okay, so without further delay, let's go ahead and get Zak Baris into the show. He's a lifelong Cleveland sports fan, former NBA scout. All right, we are live with Zak Baris on The Unhappy Hour, talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers going down 2-0 to the Golden State Warriors. Zak, I kind of did a prolonged intro on the Facebook group, The Unhappy Hour Sports Show, a support group. But for the people over here watching on YouTube, the people watching after the fact, we didn't talk after game one, and, you were at game two. Where do you want to start? Are we starting with where we find ourselves today?
I didn't wind up going to game two. I want to make that very clear.
Okay.
I did not wind up going.
Okay.
I was going to go. My week this week has been just loaded up with meetings here in Cleveland this week. Did not wind up making the chance to go, and I figured more if there's a game 5 or a game 7, then it'd be a better opportunity to go to a meaningless game 2.
Gotcha. All right. So then, here we are. This is where we find ourselves, down 0-2. It's a familiar situation, kind of like we did with the Boston Celtics. Find ourselves in a hole. What did we learn about the Cavaliers last night? I said it was kind of like a Murphy's Law game. If anything could go wrong, it would go wrong. There was no continuity. There were mental lapses. What's your takeaway from game 2?
I mean, it was tough, but the Cavaliers got screwed by the refs yet again. They had that huge swing last night when they called the everything's blending together. When they, there were so many swings last night when the Cavaliers just didn't have the opportunity, and calling the technical foul and everything. I mean, it just blew it wide open. There's so little error for mistakes for the Cavaliers, and to have the refs completely screwed up on multiple calls has just been costing. I mean, we looked at it 2 games in a row. I'm not saying the Cavs would have won last night, but they were certainly in the game.
Yeah, I said we got it from 11 points down to 8 points, down to 7, 6, 5. But it was like every time we started putting something together, we couldn't get on one of those prolonged runs to make it happen. I saw a lot of sloppy plays, a lot of bad passes. Did you see a change in what Golden State was doing on defense?
Not really, no. It was just the Cavaliers not hitting their shots again. I mean, Cleveland was not limited. That was the thing. I mean, there's the thing. You're looking at a game one. The Cavaliers had this game in the book. A couple terrible calls, and then J.R. Smith blundered at the end of the game, which, Brian, I frankly am so angry I can't even talk about. However, the Cavaliers got completely screwed by the refs. LeBron was just demoralized after that, you could tell.
Mm-hmm.
And, and they're down 2-0. I mean, did you really expect them to go and take both on the road, or let alone even one in Golden State? Their chances at home, they need to come here at home, win game 3, and all is fine. Literally. You win game 3, everything is okay. And that's what matters. The Cavaliers play much better on their home floor. Get back into it. I have all the faith in the world in LeBron. And when the role players, Brian, this is like the Boston series all over again. Yeah, Golden State is way more talented than Boston. It still doesn't make a difference. Boston played so well at home. You watch the same thing when Golden State was, beating Houston, and then all of a sudden they went down 3-2 after taking a 2-1 lead on them. They went down 3-2, and the only reason they won that series was because Chris Paul got hurt.
And the referees again. People are saying that Game 7 was one of the worst officiated games they've seen in a long time.
Game 6 was bad, too.
6 and 7. So, I mean, I got a couple things here. We can talk about the refs. I want to go back to J.R. Smith, and then we'll get back to the refs. I've seen this video. I'm sure it may have crossed your desk today. Kind of the close-up on LeBron James on the bench.
I saw it.
And when they add the subtitles, I saw yet another one where they add the subtitles, and he asks, we didn't have any timeouts? And they tell him that he had timeouts, and he puts his, he covers his face, and he looks like he's going to cry. And then he looks like he's just biting his lip, and he can't, it was like one of those Southwest commercials, want to get away? But you know what? If we're going to bash JR for losing track of the situation right there, tell me how LeBron James, the best player on the planet, doesn't look up and check and make sure, okay, we have one timeout left. If we get a rebound, I'm calling a timeout. You can call it from the floor, can't you? Like, we're giving no blame to LeBron?
However, it looked like he had tried to signal for a timeout anyway when JR had the ball, and they didn't do anything. It looked like he tried to call for a timeout anyway.
Yeah, kind of did a little bit. Yeah, I mean, is that JR thing, is that going to be a blunder for the ages? Or, I mean...
we'll see. We'll see. You never know. I mean, don't forget. The refs, it's just, you have to have the on-court awareness. You have to in all situations. That goes for JR, that goes for anyone. You have to know what the score of the game is. You have to know exactly. Draymond should have been called for a lane violation on the George Hill free throw, too.
Yep.
I mean, the fact that it wasn't called was ridiculous. I mean, it's unbelievable how much Golden State gets away with, and Draymond's leash is so long. It's unbelievable.
Well, I'm agreeing with you on these. I'm just going to play devil's advocate on a couple because you actually did see LeBron get called for a lane violation. What was that, against the Pacers? Because he is stepping in a little too quick on most of his free throws. So, on some hand, I can look at some of these and get upset by it. But, I mean, the Golden State Warriors, multiple players screaming right in the officials' faces. And then you're going to give Tyronn Lue, a guy who normally doesn't rant and rave and froth and cuss at people from the court. He occasionally says, dude, you trucked my guy and didn't call a foul.
Steph Curry should be suspended. If you rewatch it, he intentionally tripped LeBron.
He reached out his leg.
A flagrant 2 and a suspension on Steph Curry. I'm sorry. Not even being a homer here, go and rewatch the video and watch him intentionally trip LeBron right on that play. And then Ty Lue gets the technical. Instead, it should have been a flagrant 2 on Curry for tripping LeBron. He should have been out of the game, 2 shots and the ball. Instead, Golden State wound up with the ball. I mean, the refereeing was just a joke. This whole series has been a joke.
No, and I'll agree with you on that. I watched the replay, and yes, he got trucked by 2 people. Who was the other guy on his back when
Klay Thompson?
So it was Curry and Klay, and when Curry goes down, LeBron comes down, but then you see that he extends his foot out one extra bit to make sure that he trips him down. That has got to be called.
And another thing too is, I love how people are like, "Oh, Klay Thompson, so much credit for playing on a high ankle sprain." High ankle sprain, my ass, Brian. Myles Garrett last year missed how many weeks due to a high ankle sprain?
Yeah.
4 to 6 weeks last year. high ankle sprain my ass. Sore ankle, maybe. That was not a guy. Brian, if you've ever had a high ankle sprain before, you can't even walk on your foot. It's essentially worse than a broken foot.
I actually got a really bad, I don't know if it was a high ankle sprain or an ankle, I don't know what I would call it, but I was in the playoffs my junior year in high school. We were undefeated, and we were going into the playoffs, and I rolled my ankle in it because I was a backup on defensive end, and I was a starter on special teams. So I played in the first half of the JV game, my last game of the season, and I rolled my ankle bad. I was on crutches throughout the entire week. I went out and I played one play in every game in the playoffs until we played Ignatius in the championship. But that was all I could do. I could pretty much get one play off, and then I'd have to just tell the coaches, I can't move around. I can't push off on this. I can't do this. I got to tap out.
It's not like his ankle was taped. Nothing.
Yeah, so that was
again,
highly exaggerated.
When Steph Curry somehow stays in games 3 and 4, he's injured. That's what's going to happen. I just can't stand the national media. I'm trying not to watch SportsCenter, listen to any radio right now. I just don't need it.
You know what?
I'm going to games 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't need to hear it though from the national media. It's just like annoying. It's disgusting to me. The amount we have to deal with here. I mean, and how many calls the Warriors get? Like they're already not the most talented team in NBA history, yet they need every single call going their way as well. And I don't think they're that great, honestly, to tell you the truth. I mean, this is a team who barely beat a hobbling Houston team. And that's not a discredit to Houston. Houston's a very good team. But they barely beat Houston. I mean, they needed a CP3 injury. And Brian, this is something we've discussed on multiple years on the show. As great as CP3 is, he's never gotten through a healthy playoffs.
Yeah, well, he's never got out of the first round before either. So this is new territory.
He's never been healthy in the playoffs. And the 1 year he got injured going down. I mean, I'm not blaming CP3. There's nothing you can do about it. However, but it's just disheartening to see it almost. Because they really had that series. Houston came back, they had that series. And I think Golden State is vulnerable, and I think they are beatable. I don't think they're the immortal Golden State that they were last year. I just don't think they have the heart nor the drive. I just don't think they care. They just don't look like they have that killer instinct this year. They just don't.
Yeah, and it was painful that we let that one slip away. But, like you said, if the Cavs can take care of business in Game 3, we're right back in it. It's not a series until someone loses on their home court. But I want to talk about the national media narrative because I have seen a lot of people now actually coming out and discussing and calling out the refereeing in this as being something, even as a casual observer, people are starting to tune out and saying, look, if I want WWE scripted entertainment, I would watch that. This doesn't seem competitive. It doesn't seem fair. It doesn't seem refereed in an equitable manner. There are a lot of people that are saying, I am done with the NBA. This is a joke. And this is also a league that had Tim Donaghy shaving points and got busted for gambling. And, there's two national media narratives first, Zach. I'll talk to you about the first one. Are you surprised that there are so many people calling out the referees? Because I've been seeing it from the national media. They are hip to what's going on. Have you seen that too?
I mean, I have. Yeah, it's not only the media, it's the players. You had guys like Donovan Mitchell.
Yes, players like. Hold on, I think I'm losing you, Zach. Players like Donovan Mitchell. Okay, hang on.
Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell. No, it was my Bluetooth, Brian.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It was Donovan Mitchell. Damian Lillard. These guys are, again, you can't catch a break. The Warriors are the luckiest team in NBA history. The fact that Draymond doesn't have 4 technicals a game is something that's just crazy.
It really is the way that he screams in people's face. There was one play yesterday, and I think I paused and I put pictures up in the Unhappy Hour, the Facebook group, and I looked. I was looking down, and the play got the whistle, and it was a foul on Draymond. The crowd was quiet, and you heard him screaming. I mean, that was the only thing that came through in the game audio was him in the ref's face screaming at him, and I'm going, at what point do you tee him up to shut him up? This is I don't know. This is nothing new from Draymond, but it seems like it's even more so. I guess he's not kicking people in the nuts.
Because he's talented, and the league is just like, you can't. I mean, don't forget, how many games did Dennis Rodman get ejected with the Bulls? Rodman got ejected almost every night, it seemed like. They're so afraid to do it to Draymond because they don't want to ruin the integrity of the game. Listen, the jackass needs to be suspended. I'm sorry, it is what it is. If Rodman was suspended for doing what Rodman did, there's no reason Draymond shouldn't be suspended. You act like that, you act like a jerk, you act like an asshole, you deserve to be suspended.
But it's not just acting like a jerk. He poked LeBron in the eye to the point where he looks like Terminator. He looks like Arnold.
You act like an asshole, you deserve to be suspended. You do that kind of stuff, you should be suspended. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, there's no way around it. He should be suspended. And the fact that the league hasn't done anything about it is a joke.
Yeah, I don't know that I would.
And the league knows that. Here's the thing: is Brian, the league knows they screwed up. They're going to be testing in coaches replay next year because of this.
Yeah, I saw that. Well, I like the idea, and you hear Van Gundy and you hear Jackson talking about it. Are you in agreement? I don't know anyone that's not, but I just want to get your thoughts on it. When, two things. When there's an air ball and you catch it and time expires and it kind of sets up a fast break, or when it's 1-on-2 or 3-on-2 or something, it's not quite a clear path, but it's just these stupid intentional fouls wrapping a guy up by the waist.
The NBA does need to change that rule. They need to change it. It has to be changed.
How long has that been a rule? Has that been since the beginning of time? Or are we just noticing it now?
Like that, but it needs to be changed, especially with today and the more fast breaks. You see a lot more fast breaks than you used to because of missed three balls and guys playing deeper on the perimeter.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you see more fast breaks nowadays.
And that's good for the game.
The way the game is done. When you used to see, don't forget, before the three-point line, when teams, the Bulls in 1991, when they only took 21 threes the entire series, you're taking a bunch of short mid-range jumpers and layups. Everybody's playing in the paint. Now that they spread the floor, guys are all over the place. That's why there's so many more fast breaks. You see more outlet passes. You didn't used to see that.
And that stuff's good for the game. It makes for good highlights. It makes for entertaining moments. That's what the game should want. It should be. Those
fast breaks where there's a stoppage like this should be called a clear pass, or it should be something else that's similar. It gets you 2 shots in the ball.
Yeah, make it really penalized. You don't want to dunk it, fine, but this is going to cost you 4. Getting back to it though, the second part of what I want to say about the national media narrative is because I've been hearing this a little bit lately too, and I put nothing past anyone at this point, but do you think the national media is playing a role in trying to push Kyrie out of Cleveland and trying to push LeBron out of Cleveland as well to get him into the bigger markets?
I mean that's what the national media does. They create stories, and that's what people want to hear. It's not what people in Cleveland want to hear. But that's what they do. Their job is to drum up reads, and draw up hit clicks on their stories. That's what they do.
Yeah. But
that's exactly what they do.
Does it happen the same way when you have players in Los Angeles? I mean, because, we have to kind of figure out where are we being homers legitimately and where are we being homers illegitimately. I root for Laundry. I'm very clear about that. But, is this something that Kobe and Shaq, they were creating these stories to break them up? Or is it really a concerted effort to get LeBron out of Cleveland, getting Kyrie out of Cleveland?
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, again, you're going to see some Philly writers that have ties to Philadelphia wanting LeBron to go to the Sixers. NBA writers, I love it. I love that the national media always said, we're not fans, we're there as writers. BS. BS. You don't think these guys are fans? They are. They'll tell you they're not, but they clearly are.
How did you get into that profession if you're not a fan?
But all these guys have ties to a certain team.
All right, who can you name a few?
Bill Simmons, let's take with the Celtics. He's not a beat writer, but Bill Simmons will try to drum up anything to get someone to go to the Celtics.
To be fair, though, he is a deep homer, much like you and I. He's a homer.
Yes.
He's not shy to say.
Let's just take, for instance, a guy like Jason LaCanfora, who clearly is a Ravens homer. We'll never admit it, but clearly a Baltimore sports fan. Clearly a Ravens homer.
What about Cowherd? Where's his allegiance? I'm trying to remember all these guys now.
to the Lakers, Southern California.
Well, but he wasn't always out here, though, was he?
Matt Kellerman to the Lakers. That's what these guys do. Kellerman's a New York guy, but Kellerman's all about the Lakers. I mean, Brian, I used to listen to him back in the day when sports talk radio guy would call into a show.
I remember LA Sports Talk Radio guy. Those are some of the best moments ever.
No, like, he would ask, no, I'm saying like the real LA Sports Talk guy would call into a show and drum up interest, going, oh man, I wouldn't trade Pau Gasol for giving it up in the number 1 overall pick. You know, that's like I heard the number 2 overall at the time when Minnesota had it. You know, and I'm like thinking to myself, you wouldn't trade Pau Gasol for Kevin Love and the number 2 overall pick? Like, get out of here.
Oh man, I love it. What about Stephen A. Smith? Where's his allegiance?
His allegiance is, you know, it's always East Coast. It always has been. It's always been, you know, to the Knicks or the, you know, don't forget the guy wrote in Philadelphia, New York.
Yeah.
So you have to take a look at Philadelphia, New York.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
well, look,
you have to take a look. Whenever you read an article on someone pitching to where a guy where they want to end up, go and read first where that player's worked, what they've done, and who they've worked for. Always take a look at that. That's what you must read beforehand when going into an article.
What is it like, Sammy Jenks in the movie Memento by Christopher Nolan? Where he has to write the tattoos on himself. Consider the source because he has short-term amnesia.
The thing is, you always have to consider the source. You know,
always.
If the guy's from South Dakota, different story. You know, like Kelly Dwyer had it out for Dan Gilbert. So every article that they wrote, you know, the guy who wrote that he wrote on Yahoo was anti-Dan Gilbert. Hold on, Brian. I'm walking in to pick up food.
Oh no, it's fine. Do we think we know what's going on with Gilbert? Do we think, you know, are we blowing too much out of proportion?
What is that?
Okay, here, let's do this. I'll turn you down. Get your order for a second. I'll let everybody know. On Twitter, you can follow Zach. He's at Zbaris. That's ZBARIS. Make sure that you subscribe to us, youtube.com/TheNewAmericanMedia, patreon.com. That is if you want to support what we're doing, patreon.com/TheNewAmericanMedia, Instagram.com/TheUnhappyHour. That's all sports. And then Instagram.com/TheNewAmericanMedia, current events and other stuff as well. Facebook.com/TheNewAmericanMedia. Good times. Link up with us over there. And what did I leave out? Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, MySpace? I don't know. Who knows? If you're in the chat room, leave some comments. Sometimes I can read the comments. Sometimes I can't. Looks like I have a question here from Brian, or maybe a comment. Brian's out there drinking vanilla. Okay, what vanilla porter are you having? Who makes the vanilla porter in a ribeye? Sounds good. Okay, Zach is back. I was reading a comment in the chat room from Brian. He's having a vanilla porter and cooking ribeye steaks out on the deck tonight. That sounds good. Zach, what did you just pick up?
Pretty damn good. I just picked up some Thai food. I've been working a ton lately, and I've had meetings nonstop, and I've got to go out of town again.
Did you get a chicken curry?
Back out of town to Toronto, New York, and Washington in the next couple of weeks. So it's just a lot, and I'm just overloaded.
So did you get chicken curry?
I did not tonight. I got pad see ew and fried rice tonight.
Nice. Okay. Yeah.
I love curry. I was just not in the curry mood tonight. I've been sitting in my office all day, and I was just craving pad see ew, or pad thai. So I was like, yeah, I'll get one of them.
Yeah, I like the coconut. I like the green curry.
Oh, love it. I love mango curry. Is my favorite.
I don't know if I've ever had it, but I'll try that next time. But Brian's out there.
Mango curry is unbelievable.
Okay, I'm in. Next time I find it, I will try it. I got a few good Thai places out here for sure.
LA's got the best Thai food in the country.
It really has some killer Thai food. I need to make sure I force myself out and back into some of those. Natalie Thai.
Or if you're ever in Vegas, actually the best Thai restaurant in the country is actually in Las Vegas. It's called Lotus of Siam. I don't know if you've ever been, but it's the best, hands down. It's also very, very famous too. But it's the best Thai restaurant in the country.
Where's it at?
It's about a mile off the strip, half a mile off the strip.
Okay.
Down a little past in the area of like the Stratosphere, down in Vegas.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's where I stayed last time.
Yeah, it is just fantastic. I had a client take me there back when I was 22, and their celebrity wall is just, you got 300 celebrities on the wall. I mean, but the food there is just, I remember I went there, and then I went back to all my favorite Thai spots back in LA. I'm like, I can't eat any of these right now. And I needed like a good 30-day break because this place was so good. And everybody I've ever taken there just loves Lotus.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'll have to keep that on my radar. I went to I had a buddy who used to live by the M Casino, right off what place is that? What city? It was right on the outskirts of Vegas. But anyway, it was some lady that was on a TV show, and they opened up a Thai place, and we went in there and had some stuff. It was really good. I couldn't remember the name of it, though. But anyway, I digress. I just think it's funny we were talking about Curry as we're trying to beat Steph Curry. But anyway, Brian was saying, thank you for taking us off on that food tangent, Brian. Vanilla porter and ribeye, steaks on the deck tonight. He's wondering about bench JR. It's something Stephen A. Smith came out and said.
This is the same thing we discussed in the Boston series. As soon as they came home, he played well. I give him some leeway tomorrow night. See what he can do. Because listen, you're not going to win with Jordan Clarkson or Rodney Hood in there replacing him. It's not going to happen. In order for the Cavaliers to win, it doesn't matter. They're not going to win without JR. It's just not possible. So he either needs to play very, very well, or if you throw him on the bench, you're not going to even get the productivity out of Hood or Clarkson, and that's the problem. Unfortunately, you don't have Dwayne Wade. Which looks like a total disaster at this point, this portion of the trade, getting rid of Wade and getting rid of his years of experience where he probably could have been helpful. I'm not saying he would have been great for 35 minutes a game, but again, if you would have had him for 15, 20 minutes a night, it would have definitely been helpful.
Yeah, we kind of gave him away for nothing. Maybe we got like a 2032 fifth-round pick or something, but not much for Dwayne Wade.
At the time, though, they thought they were getting a productive guy in Hood, a great player, a really good emerging young player who's going to be re-signed long-term, and he just didn't produce for the Cavs. I think he buckled under the pressure of having to play with LeBron, and you saw Utah was better without him, too, significantly.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The story came out, and, you got J.R. Smith, kind of saying that when you're playing with LeBron, when you win, everybody expects it. If you lose, the ship is sinking, and it's a different kind of pressure. It's really tough. Rodney Hood saying he was going back watching YouTube videos of himself in Utah going, I scored 18 points a game. I was a good player. That's this year. That's still me. Like, he's been so demoralized on the Cavs. What do you make of that? Because LeBron's thing has been he makes the players around him better, but you're seeing a lot of it cracking. Ty Lue, Kevin Love.
Guys do not play well with LeBron. They buckle under pressure. We witnessed in 2009 how good Mo Williams was with LeBron.
Yeah.
Some players are so much better with LeBron, but not everyone. Most players, not all.
Have you been able to come up with a reason why or the type of player that thrives versus...
I think it's just the pressure. Brian. Don't forget, the Cavaliers are on national TV almost every single night. They're the most scrutinized team in the NBA. Any team LeBron plays on is the most scrutinized team in the NBA. It's just having that national presence every night, being out there, it has got to be a little intimidating, does it not?
Yeah, but that's kind of why you get to the dance, though. That's why you make it to the big leagues, is so you can play in the big-time games.
Yeah, but some guys, Brian, we've witnessed before, some guys can't always handle pressure. We've witnessed in the NFL. We've witnessed in Major League Baseball. Some of these guys just buckle under pressure. They get to the postseason, and what happens is, they're on a high-profile team. We've witnessed it with players in the past. Players who go play for the New York Yankees or the Red Sox, when they're getting all the publicity and they don't play well and they go back to their smaller market team, once they get designated for assignment, they're the same player they were before.
We have seen that. Even Coach Lue having a mental breakdown, Kevin Love having a mental breakdown. It's like, Rodney Hood's practically in shambles.
Real quickly, let's not take anxiety. Having anxiety is a mental breakdown. It's a mental lapse, but it's not a mental breakdown. A breakdown is completely different. Brian, I'm someone who suffers from anxiety too. I take medication for it. I started taking it last summer. My anxiety has been cured. I didn't used to have anxiety. I was in a bad relationship about a year ago, and I suffered from anxiety because of it. It takes its toll. And if you're not treated properly, it can have very, very poor effects. But it also takes 6 weeks for the medication to act. So while that's happening, it could have also happened right after they were diagnosed and the medication. It could have been a different kind of reaction to the medication. You know, whether you're on like Lexapro, Prozac, whether you're on any kind of antidepressant, anti-anxiety med. You know, everybody's body reacts differently, and you can't necessarily play basketball when you're on them. When I started mine, I had the shakes for 2 weeks.
Wow, 2 weeks.
2 weeks. So again, before you define having anxiety as a mental breakdown, which I would not define as that, you can have a couple bad days. You know, I never thought I would have that, and I had it, and it was just like, I never thought I would act like that, and I had a couple days. It was not a breakdown, though, but I had bad anxiety to the point where I literally couldn't function.
Yeah.
When it happens, but it's not a breakdown. It's just having a mental lapse.
No, and that's a fair distinction to make. Absolutely. I have a psychology degree, and I've been very happy with how Kevin Love came out, and him and DeMar DeRozan, the awareness they've been able to bring to things. And, it's a weird world we live in 2018 where, the standard of living, the quality of life, the expectations, and the way that we can survive in this society, it's never been better, it's never been easier, but it's also never been easier to feel completely empty and lost and overwhelmed and overworked and stressed and anxious. And it's kind of, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, it was 2018. It's a weird thing that we have. But I mean, Coach Lou, they thought it was a heart problem at first. So it wasn't, that was, he had a couple weeks he had to step away and kind of keeping it hush hush and thinking it was a heart condition, then saying it was anxiety or saying it was, so I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it's like behind the scenes. Why did Kyrie demand to be traded away from LeBron James? I'm just putting this together.
I think Kyrie just wanted to be in the spotlight. I think Kyrie wanted to go to a team that fit him best. If you look at the teams he wanted to go to, where he could sit there and he could be the number one guy on the team, yet still be on a winning team.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what he wanted to do. I don't think Kyrie ever liked LeBron particularly. I think that he felt like LeBron stole his thunder in Cleveland, which wasn't the case, but that's how Kyrie viewed it.
That's so weak. That's so lame. I mean, why do you want thunder on a 18-win team? Who cares? Go be the Storm with a couple people around you. Tim in the chat room, he made a point. I want to get your thoughts on this. He says, Kevin Love is a great number 3 in a big 3. Caving and trading Kyrie has been a huge mistake.
I mean, there's no doubting that. I mean, he makes a very valid point. I think Kevin Love was, it's like the Chris Bosh thing. And Bosh was a great player. Bosh is a Hall of Famer. Was Bosh good enough to be there without, a great Wade? Would they have won a championship? No. They needed Wade.
Right. I mean, so are we fools to still kind of put some hope into this Cavaliers team since we don't have a Dwayne Wade? So we don't have a...
Here's the thing. When you have LeBron, you have a player capable of putting up 50 on any given night. You've got the chance to win.
I'll agree with that, and I've said that. I'm not necessarily completely bummed out at this point, but it is a little disappointing we let that first one get away. Two quick points on Chris Bosh, because Tim is leaving a message here. Do you think Chris Bosh is a Hall of Famer, by the way?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
100%. Are you surprised he never came back once he was medically cleared to? Because the rumor was he might come back to the Cavs.
He might not have ever been. He may not have been able to pass the team's physical, Brian. That may have been the issue.
But and that's fair. That might be the case.
Speaking of physical, this is something I want to touch on.
Yes.
The Bryan Colangelo case, we have not even gotten to discuss.
Yes.
Okafor's failed physical. This is something that I wanted to bring up last week. I apologize that I haven't been on the show.
It's okay.
Because I've just been so busy. However, Bryan Colangelo, I'm going to guess that he'll be fired next week.
Okay, so walk us through what this case was.
So what happened was Bryan Colangelo was running 5 burner accounts. And by the way, I checked them. I looked at them. 100% his. I mean, there's no way, unless they were being run by his son or his wife, they're definitely a Colangelo or his dad.
Because why? Because they're posting pictures of the family barbecue, or what?
No. What he was doing, they were all linked to the same phone number, by the way.
Oh, okay.
They were all linked to the same phone number. It was based on who he followed. You know, the person who did it, the person who found out about it, who broke it, we don't know who it was. The guy the guy wanted to remain anonymous. But it is one of the biggest breaks in history. It is very, very cool how it was broken. You know, with the study of analytics. You know, I am blown away by this story, though, and I was reading this and I was just fascinated. I just wanted to hear more. But Colangelo, I mean, it's clearly him. He's going to get fired. And David Griffin's probably going to be the new GM in Philadelphia.
Oh, Griff is going to go to the 76ers.
My guess.
LeBron likes Griff.
Who doesn't like Griff?
Dan Gilbert.
He's a top 3 GM in the NBA.
Dan Gilbert didn't like him. So the Bryan Colangelo story, for the people that aren't aware of it, so he had multiple fake accounts, and he would tweet in 5 fake accounts, and a sock puppet accounts, burner accounts, whatever you'd want to call them, and he would tweet about things but not use his own name and tie him back to the 76ers.
Yeah, he would call out his own players. He would give away sensitive information, too. That's what he was doing. He gave out literally sensitive information about his players, who they were drafting, what they were doing. He was tipping his hand to the common public. I mean, this guy couldn't stay out of the limelight. He's so sensitive, you know, about people making fun of his big collars and all this stuff.
So, you know, on some level, who cares? On the other level, what sensitive information, like, he was doing it just because he wanted to be able to talk, but he was being restrained at his normal job, or he was being malicious, trying to hurt players, or trying to defend his legacy.
I think he just wanted the news to get out there because he couldn't. You know, the GM can only say so many things. So I think he was trying to hope is, you know, this is the real story, but it didn't come from Bryan Colangelo. You know, I mean, the guy made a huge blunder. He'll probably never work in the NBA again. Once this is all solved in a couple of weeks or a couple of days, he's done.
And so if he had burner accounts, sock puppet accounts, and he wasn't giving out sensitive info, would that be a problem if he was going after people that are bashing him for whatever?
Right. This is like finding a serial killer who just murdered 10 people and the same DNA links to every one. And he was at every single crime scene, yet they haven't matched the DNA yet to him.
This is not a serial killer, Zach. It's not a serial killer.
No, but I'm saying he was coincidentally at every single crime scene. It, you know, just happened to be when the person got murdered. However, his DNA just hasn't been linked to it yet.
Yeah, it's the arsonist that shows up to watch the building burn. He's always on camera giving the interview.
Yeah, it just happens to randomly be there. You know, my personal opinion, I think he will go down for this, and I just think this story is just getting funnier by the day.
And once again, I don't see a problem with having a burner account and having additional profiles, but if he's putting information, and I don't even necessarily have a problem with him giving his honest opinion about his team. I would say if he's leaking private information or sensitive information to the company, that's where it would get dicey for me. Am I wrong? Is it worse than I'm giving it credit for?
Brian, Brian, here's the thing. Hypothetically, let's just say you knew something about your company. You knew about something you guys were going to be doing tomorrow. Let's just say there's going to be a big acquisition or a merger of your company, and you're tweeting out from a burner account beforehand, letting people know, scaring people that it could happen, and then it actually does happen. You know, when you're supposed to, when you sign an NDA, you know, to keep it private, yet you're doing it from someone else's account.
Right.
You know, it's literally, he violated league rules. He violated team rules. You know, he did everything to violate. You know, you're not allowed to have these burner accounts. I mean, we've witnessed multiple players and, you know, and people in front offices get busted before doing this. I'm not saying people don't have burner accounts. You know, trust me. A lot of these people have a Twitter account. A lot of them do.
Right.
You don't know they have Twitter.
But that's what I'm getting at. If you're doing, you know, like the Martha Stewart insider trading stuff, if I think that there's a distinction.
He violated league protocol and then he lied about it. He is clearly behind me. Unless they were coming from his son, he was telling his son what to say. these are going to come from him. They're either from his son, him, his wife, or his dad. One of the four people. We've limited it down to four people. It's like it's like we found a DNA match. It's guaranteed to come from one of them. We just don't know which of the four yet.
It's like the Who
It's
Shot.
like the Golden State Killer. No, this is literally like the Golden State Killer. They found the DNA belonging, from a distant relative. Then all of a sudden they were able to break it down and say, okay, here are his relatives. We're going to go and find out who it is. And this is literally what they have right now. They're not 100% sure it's him, but they're 100% sure it's within the family.
Jeez. Fun stuff.
This is not going to be a hard mystery. But all they have to do is get access to his computer, see the IP address he's retweeted from, and link them back up to him. Trust me, the NBA has already hired an investigator.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that today. No, and that's
Colangelo's trying to save his ass, and it's not going to happen. It's not going to work.
No, I understand. Let me be clear. I understand that if you're giving away company secrets, if you're doing stuff like that, that's clearly crossing a line. What I'm saying, though, is if you want to have a fan's take on your game against Houston and, just as a fan, what you saw on the floor and you're commenting about players, but you can't have an opinion because you work for the team, randomly offering opinions on stuff is one thing. But, yeah, players' health information.
Did you by any chance read the tweets?
No, give me your highlights.
Did you read the article from The Ringer?
I did not.
So,
what are the best?
One of them I thought was interesting. He discussed a lot about Nerlens Noel. Brian, we could pull up tapes from your show a few years ago, going back to the draft and why the Cavaliers passed on Nerlens Noel with the number 1 pick.
Yes, we did. You told me a lot off of air.
That I had discussed with you. Everything that I had discussed with you was mentioned in those tweets.
Uh-huh.
On why he slipped to the number 6 pick. It did not go number 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5.
Because he didn't have his priorities straight.
Everything I had discussed with you turned out to be true.
Yep. So
I didn't, if I tweeted about it, they came from me personally, not a burner account of mine on behalf of someone else. That's the thing. I wasn't sharing any sensitive information that wasn't known. Him playing for the Sixers, that stuff didn't come out in the public, but anybody who was at the NBA Combine knew.
Right.
What he had done. And that's why you saw 5 teams pass on him. Oh, including the Pelicans who took him at 6, traded him.
Oh, geez.
Holiday. So typically 6 teams passed on him. Yes, he was a talent, but the guy, Nerlens has obviously had his issues. There's a reason why he's not on a long-term contract right now.
Man, it's amazing. For all the people that just look at LeBron, it's like, well, yeah, of course he's LeBron. Of course he's succeeding. It's like, do you know what it takes to get that kind of life together, to get that kind of longevity, to have that kind of workout? It's
yeah, and
pretty incredible.
Here's another thing, too. I think it's hilarious. Some of the stuff we've discussed on the show, or some of the stuff we've discussed off air where I've told you things going, listen, I can't tell you this in public. You cannot put this on because I don't want it coming from me. And then we see 3-4 years later, the story pops out.
True story.
How many times have we seen that now?
We've had a few.
I'm just saying. We've had quite a few of them where I've told you things off the air. I said it's very sensitive. We cannot talk about it on the show. Or if you do, it did not come from me, and I don't want to be anywhere. I don't need to be associated with it because I have to preach confidentiality for my sources. And I can't say that I know because I promise people that I'm not going to say anything. So I can't say anything. And even though I know, and I can tell close friends, you're not allowed to go on the radio and say this. You're not allowed to say this to someone who's on TV. If you want to say this to your friends, go ahead. It didn't come from you anyway. And
because I wanted to keep my source out of hot water, I never did breach that confidentiality, nor did I release that information, because I think there's a way you burn your sources. You burn your bridges, and you can't get them back. Yeah, absolutely. That's how this world works. All right, so I got to go through. Tim has a few things to say. Tim is saying that Rizzo had fake accounts too, blasting his other on-air talent. Do you remember those? Zach, are you?
Do not scare Tony Rizzo's a hack.
There you go. What about the Browns GM who once told a Cleveland fan on Twitter, "F you, go root for Buffalo"? Do you remember that one?
Bill said it was those were before Twitter. That was 2007. Or 2008. Barely anybody was on Twitter at that point. Bill Sims literally just told a fan, "Go root for Buffalo," on Twitter. not. He wasn't doing it from a burner. He straight up said it from himself.
Okay, good point. Good distinction.
You know, it wasn't from a burner. He was perfectly within his own right to say it. He was pissed.
Yeah.
He said it from his own account, though. It didn't come from a burner.
Okay, good distinction. Tim is agreeing with you, saying agreed. Riz is a hack. He's also saying, wouldn't you almost guarantee that Dan Gilbert has burner accounts? He's got a super quick trigger finger, super quick trigger account.
I don't even know if he has a burner account because he tweets from his own account. We've seen him what he said on his own account.
Can you?
I mean, would it surprise me tomorrow if Dan Gilbert had a burner account? No, but you know, Dan is very quick on his own Twitter account to say things. So that's why I don't believe he necessarily has a burner account. There's no reason for him to. He'll say whatever he wants. If someone goes and rips on him or rips on his team or rips on his family, rips on whoever, he will say it. He's never held back.
Can you switch over?
Same with Mark Cuban. These guys.
Yeah, Cuban gets in trouble
talking. Say what's on their mind, and I give them. Here's the thing. What's cool about it is, they're kind of reacting like how you or I would react as a common fan in the NBA, where if we owned a team, we'd be saying the same thing.
Probably.
It's kind of cool to get that from an owner sometimes. It's not always what you want to hear, but sometimes it's the cool thing to do.
This is for Tim. He's saying, is this Zach Jackson? Love his stuff. Who's Zach Jackson? I don't know. Is that a guy I'm supposed to...
Zach Jackson is from The Athletic.
Oh.
Zach Jackson's hilarious. He's one of the funniest guys on Twitter, too. He was a beat writer for the Browns back when I was in middle school. Did a great job. And then he had left. He had done... I think he'd been with another couple companies, maybe Fox Sports Ohio after that. But Zach is hilarious in his own way. Like, he's great when he comes under 92.3 The Fan. He really is awesome.
No, Tim. This is Zak Baris, ZakBaris. You can follow him on Twitter. He's at ZBaris. That's ZBaris. Zach has been joining us, I don't know, for about 7 years now, pretty much since we've had a show. Really good stuff over the years. Really interesting question from Tim, though. He's saying, why doesn't the NBA hire investigators into the horrific refs? That scumbag alien who runs the NBA will never talk about that. I mean, is this an unspoken secret?
By the way, he's not... Adam Silver's not an alien. The joke is always, sorry, I'm just going to text it to you because I'm not going to say it on the air. I'll let you say it. So, Brian, check your text messages in about 10 seconds.
Okay.
This is what he's known around as the NBA.
Oh, wait.
This is his nickname.
Now I got it.
I've told you it before. In NBA circles, that's what he's called.
Ah, okay. All right.
You choose to say it, but it's not coming from me.
Got it. I had to.
Do you see it?
Yeah, I see it. Unfortunately, now I can't unsee it. No, it was funny.
Every time you look at him after seeing it, Brian, I can tell you multiple people that I know, and this is not just me. Let's just put it, it's a wide network of people. That is what he is referred to.
Okay, that's pretty good.
It's not that bad. You can say it on the air. It's nothing that's so vile.
Yeah, well, it's LP, and it doesn't stand for Libertarian Party. We can just leave it at that. No, but I thought it was funny because Tim said that scumbag alien ref who runs the NBA, and you go, whoa, hold on. He's not an alien. Kind of leaving it hanging there about being a scumbag. Just kind of funny how that played out. Yes, a reptile. A lizard, if you will. Let's see. Okay, so Tim saying good stuff on Twitter. Scott the Trim Slayer. Okay, Zach, do you have anything else to say about the Cavaliers other than we have a shot to turn this around in Game 3?
I have a lot of faith in them for Game 3, and I wouldn't sit here and hit the panic button. Let's just tell you that.
Okay, and I've been
the same thing in the Boston series when they were down 0-2. Did I not?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to beat my own. I'm not trying to pump my own horn here. But I'm saying, do not panic, like you said. Do not panic until the home team loses the game. And the Cavaliers, 3-3, they went back to Boston and they won on the road. They're fully capable of winning on the road. We witnessed in the Indiana series, after they had lost at home. Toronto, they went there and won 2. I know none of those teams are as good as the Warriors, but they were not easy victories coming in on the road, and they were able to do it. The Cavaliers will be able to swipe one on the road in this series unless they somehow lose 4-0, but I don't think that's happening.
When they asked LeBron about his eye injury, and this will be the last Cavs question, then maybe we could just have a couple wild card ones on our way out the door. when he was interviewed about the Draymond injury, how much do you think the eye was bothering him? Do you think it's still?
I think it was bothering him a lot. I mean, Brian, you could tell that did not look comfortable.
No, he looks like Terminator. You know, that big red eye.
Yeah. Be great if he talked like Arnold Schwarzenegger too. We'll be back.
Cleveland will be back. Iggy is playing in Game 3. Is this going to be a difference maker?
I think it will be. But we'll see what happens. Iguodala's a great player. He's a great defender. But are they that much better with him defending LeBron? Nobody stops LeBron. LeBron's averaged over 40 points a game in the finals over the last 3 years with Iguodala guarding him. So I don't know how much of a difference it makes.
Yeah, and it's like the fifth spot that the Warriors rolled out against us yesterday kind of dominated us anyway. So, okay, go ahead and switch that up. If it ain't broken, why fix it? Yeah. All right. So, let's switch over here real quick. Any thoughts on the Cleveland Browns? Tim's asking, who do you like, Baker or Taylor? Obviously one might be a little more suited for now.
Taylor's got to start the season. Here's the problem. We have experience. We have two veterans on the staff for a reason. I don't care if Baker's ready from day one. Let him sit. There's no rush. There really is no rush with this kid. Come week 8, the Browns are 2-6, and he's ready to go. Throw him in the fire. If this team's 4-4 or 5-3, you have no reason to throw Baker immediately into the fire. There's no reason for it.
Let him sit and enjoy it. Let him sit and learn.
Let him sit. Let him learn. Because the problem is if you throw someone who's not ready, and let's say Deshaun Kaiser, you ruin a guy's development when you put him in too early. This is fragile. He's the number 1 overall pick in the draft. He might be ready to go from day one, but you have an experienced starter who just took a team to the playoffs on the roster. You have experienced receivers. You've got Josh Gordon, Jarvis Landry. You've got, Corey Coleman now as the number 3. You've signed a couple of guys, and you still have David Njoku, who clearly got better as the season progressed last year. You've improved your running game situation. You've added guys like Nick Chubb. You've added Carlos Hyde. Your defense is significantly better. Every part of this roster was upgraded other than left tackle. And I tend to think they'll be okay at left tackle.
We have switched everything on this team, and I'm looking forward to it. I see that meme going around, wondering who is going to go from worst to first. Could it be the Texans? Could it be the Broncos? Could it be the Browns?
I don't think the Browns are going to sit there and win 12 games. But again, one of the reasons they went 0-16 last year was because of the quarterback situation. In the year before, same thing. If you would have put an average quarterback on the team, odds are they probably would have won 4 to 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
Kaiser, we turn the ball over every time we get to the red zone. You are now adding 2 of the top 10 receivers in football in a full season of Josh Gordon and a full season of Jarvis Landry. Okay? That is going to open up the gates for Corey Coleman, who I fully expect to have a much better season.
Yeah.
And same thing with David Njoku.
And Carlos Hyde and Nick Chubb.
You're going to have 3 fresh running backs back there that can, especially 2 of them that can pound the ball in Chubb and Hyde. You've got 2 workhorses back there. They're going to play run and smash mouth football a lot with short pitches. That's why you added a guy like Jarvis Landry. Jarvis Landry is the perfect guy for Baker Mayfield, too. He's a strong possession receiver. I tend to think Baker's going to be a good fit with this team. I really do. And I think that's why he's going to be learning from Tyrod. Tyrod just does not turn the ball over. He doesn't.
Yeah, that's the exact opposite of Kaiser. I wonder how Kaiser's going to do. Is he the number 2 in Green Bay? I haven't had a chance to really.
I think they still have Brett Hundley on the roster, as far as I know. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen there, but Kaiser might still be a good quarterback to me. He just, his confidence is shaken. His development was probably hurt last year. He didn't have the pieces in place to succeed, nor was he ready. You even heard his college coach Bryan Kelly say he should have stayed another year. He made a stupid decision to come out early. It hindered his development.
Yeah. Well, and he's going up to Green Bay, and we've seen injuries from Aaron Rodgers before. You never know. A change of scenery, you might be able to get something different.
He could come in there and be a very, very good player. He could. I wish him all the best. I don't wish him, to suck.
No. He's got skill.
It's not his fault he didn't succeed in Cleveland. They just didn't have the talent. They ripped that team. Brian, literally, it was going in there. Let's take, for instance, a house. Okay, you take an old house, that had some good pieces on it, but you completely stripped it down to the studs because you didn't have the money to make the whole house look nice at once. So they did it, built up their capital, and, and then eventually did it all at once. And that's what they did. The same as building a house and renovating a house. And, they put it all together in one piece, and now the team is starting to, form and they've got their core pieces now. And guys like Denzel Ward, they've clearly upgraded the figure. What were the two problems last year with the Browns? They turned over the ball too much, and they didn't cause turnovers. Their secondary, they had 5 interceptions last year, 7 interceptions, something crazy, ridiculously low. You just added Michael Kendricks to the mix, too. You've added a lot of talent, especially in the secondary now to this team. And, even the linebackers now are good. You can never have too much talent on the line. You got a healthy Emmanuel Ogba. You got Myles Garrett so far who's healthy right now. You go into the year healthy. I'm not saying the Browns are going to win 9 or 10 games, but if they were to, they have the talent to. Would not shock me. I'm not saying they will. I fully expect more to be in the 6 to 8 win range, and I'd be very happy if they win 8 games this year. I'm saying that they have the talent. Dorsey's built a much better football team. The turnover on this roster is significant for a reason.
It's funny because I'm guessing you might predict 8-8. I was gonna say 10-6, and Tim in the chat room is saying 9-7. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to put.
I'm wrong. I hope they go 10-6, Brian. I renewed my season tickets this year after being off the last 2 years. I just had this weird feeling this year, and I was right about the last 2 years. I renewed my season tickets this year. Being honest with you, I renewed them. Okay. And I said because I just had a good feeling.
Well, they certainly did the second part of what Sashi Brown lined up for him. It's obviously Sashi wasn't a perfect front office executive, but he really did work his magic to stockpile and put ourselves in a position where we could have money to spend in free agency, and we had draft picks to cash in and go ahead and get some young talent. I'm always excited for football. Like that was kind of the sport I excelled at the most in high school. I played basketball in intramural. I played tennis, captain of my tennis team. I played a lot of sports, but football is always my number one. So I'm always excited for the Browns, but I'm really, really excited for them this year. I think we're going to be watching a completely different sport, a completely different product on the field.
I think you'll see a rejuvenated crowd. I think the city's much happier now.
The long national nightmare is over.
Yeah.
Tim is saying that the Browns are going to.
Brian, I'm going to get going now. I got to go eat dinner, but I will be around to do a call on Thursday after Game 3. So I will be around.
Okay, so you're going to be at Game 3 on Thursday. Okay, so you would be ready for some quick analysis shortly after the game then, so I'll try to watch it in real time, live.
Wednesday night, I'm not sure. Definitely on Thursday.
Okay. Well, look, man, it's a very important Game 3. Go represent us, make a lot of noise, but don't blow your voice out so you can still talk after the big win.
And rest in peace to former Browns GM Dwight Clark, who passed away due to complications from ALS today. So
yeah, young guy, Dwight Clark.
51.
Yeah. Hey, look, nothing is guaranteed to us. Nothing is promised to us. We got to make sure we're living the life we want to. And every time somebody passes a little too early, it's just another reminder, do what you're supposed to be doing on this planet. Don't waste too much of your time screwing around. So, good point. Prayers to his family as well. Zach, thank you for your time as well. You can follow him on Twitter. He's at Zak Baris. That's Z-B-A-R-I-S. And, Zach, I will talk with you again soon, buddy.
Okay.
All right, take care. There he goes, everybody. Zak Baris. Want to thank you guys for watching on this camera on YouTube. Make sure you click subscribe, youtube.com/TheNewAmericanMedia. The Unhappy Hour Show. We also have Agree to Disagree. We got a whole bunch of different shows coming out. We have different content that we are putting together. Stay tuned. We also have a Browns documentary. A Browns documentary is in the works. We've been, about 70% completed with it. We got a little bit of editing to do. We're going to trim it down, but we followed around Chris McNeil, the Perfect Season Parade organizer. Him and his family, and went to the parade, flew in for that. It was pretty interesting. Saw some people from the Unhappy Hour out there. Really fun moment because I think we're going to be able to look at that as the turnaround point, the moment that things changed for the Cleveland Browns franchise. At least that's my hope. So I'm going to be putting that out. Hopefully you guys will enjoy that. Invite all your friends, especially your Cavs. I mean, all your friends that are Indians, Cavs, Browns, and Buckeye fans. Invite them to the Facebook group. It's a private group, so just click in the group and click Add Friends and go through your friends list. Add all your buddies that are not currently in the group. Add them. It's a historic run that the Cleveland Cavaliers are on. You know, who knows how long we get to be witnesses to this, but we're here right now. We're in the NBA Finals. And it doesn't get better than having a chance to win 4 games and win a title. We're down 0-2. We've been down 0-2 before. We were just down 0-2 to the Celtics. So no need to freak out just yet. We had a close almost in Game 1. We had a Murphy's Law kind of game in Game 2. Feeling good about Game 3. So anyway, thank you guys. Oh, Instagram.com/TheUnhappyHour. It's a pretty great page. Invite your friends, sign up over there, leave some comments. So thank you guys for watching on Facebook Live. Thank you for watching on YouTube, and I'll talk with you again soon.